Hello everyone. I'm back just for a little sliver of time. What's funny is when I go to work out, when I go to the gym, I went to the gym earlier today. Y- your mind, my mind almost it's a part of it switches off, and then the creative side switches on. And as I was going through my little workout today, I was thinking about my stream last night. And I was thinking, you know what? I forgot to say this. I forgot to say this. I forgot to say this. And I could have also said this. So this is a bit of a follow up. It's a short follow up. Um, and I think someone came in the stream last night that distracted me a little bit. He might be watching right now and he might jump in. Sometimes when you're doing these things, depending upon who shows up in the chat, you can get a little bit distracted. In any case, thank you to whoever liked this before I started it. This is going to be a another thought of the day, and it's related to yesterday's thought of the day. So I'm going to play my jazz intro here, the one Aaron Clary liked, and the one I'm going to update soon, and then I'm going to jump in and then jump out because I have to go to my physical workplace tomorrow. So I have to get in bed by a good hour tonight. So this is just a follow up. I'll see you on the other side of the music. If you whoever you are, please hit that like button. Oh, I just lost them. Okay. See you on the other side. Hello everyone, and happy Tuesday. Hey, if you're watching this, please hit that like button. The likes are free and they help with the engagement. As a smaller content creator, when you don't have a guest, and you're thinking you might be presenting something relatively benign, you say, okay, yeah, should I present this? Should I go live? Who's going to care? Who's going to watch? But then something inside also just says, go ahead and do it. You're a content creator. You're paying for StreamYard. Well, this version of it as part of your business. So just go ahead and do it. You never know what's going to happen. You never know whose life you're going to touch. You never know who's going to learn something from what you have to say. So this is a follow up to the thoughts of the day stream I did yesterday. And there were several things that made yesterday's stream coalesce. I like using that word, coalesce. One of them was the Kyrie Irving thing. The other one was personal experiences. One of them was the TikTok therapist, and then the other one was the fact that when I look in my YouTube backstage, those of you who are content creators, you know that the uh, the platform will tell you the videos that people have watched within the last 48 hours. So periodically, every now and then, my 48 Laws of Power and Surviving the Workplace video comes up. So somebody's watching that, which is fascinating to me because that was 2 to 3 years ago, as I was just kind of cutting my teeth here, getting my feet wet with this. The production quality is probably low. I've grown quite a bit in terms of producing video and doing live streams, but there's something about that video that someone keeps going, that keeps drawing someone to go to watch it, which is fascinating to me. So I've been thinking about, okay, how can I continue that? What should I say next? And I think the Law of Power, if you haven't read it, if you don't have a copy of the 48 Laws of Power of Robert Greene, I have the 48 Laws of Power, and I have the Laws of Human Nature. I love that self help, um, understanding human nature, understanding people type stuff. So those are two books that I would recommend. I think the law that I read in that video, I haven't gone back to watch it. I don't know the number, but I think it involves protecting your reputation, and also there's a law that says be mindful of who you associate with. So I think in that video I was talking about poisoning the waters at work and learning to stay away from people who who gossip and who are toxic. So guarding your reputation and then staying away from toxic people. I think that was the crux of it. Even in the midst of office politics, even in the midst of this person getting promoted, even though they've been there for less time, even though even in the midst of feeling overlooked, even in the midst of someone getting credit for something you worked on, or feeling like your accomplishments have been ignored. So I think that was the crux of that video. But someone keeps watching it. So in terms of going forward, I think it's critical now to be mindful of your social media footprint. That's something that's a lesson I've had to learn, and I'm continuing to learn. But over the last 2 to 3 years, since I've done more YouTubing, and since I had become more active on Twitter, which is where Kyrie Irving got in trouble, and which is where a lot of people have gotten in trouble. That's just something I've tried to be more mindful of. So I covered a couple of things yesterday. You guys know what happened. I read an article on what happened with Kyrie. A lot of people have gotten in trouble on Twitter. I'm thinking about our last president. Speaking of which, there's supposed to be an announcement tonight. I'm staying out of that. I'm staying away from that. But there's supposed to be an announcement coming for that, and depending upon what that announcement is, you may see a bunch of people go crazy um, in the mainstream media and just around you. So be mindful of that, and be mindful of what you tweet once this announcement is made. So I thought of a few more things to be mindful of. One of the overarching thing is being mindful for your career, because that video that people keep watching, it's about career. It's about um, it's ultimately about surviving and thriving in the workplace. So in terms of career, if you're just starting out, and even if you're in your career now, I think you have to be very, very mindful of your social media footprint. And even in your personal life, yeah, you have to be mindful of your social media footprint. In last night's video, I stated that, well, number one, I'm very, very careful about what I share in my Facebook network now, because there are some things that are talked about in YouTube. There are some things that are being presented on Twitter and shared on Twitter, that the people in my Facebook network, they haven't seen it before, and they don't know how to respond, and they don't know how to act when they see certain things. And people, um, these digital spaces are like silos. They're like individual silos. And if someone in one silo hasn't heard something that's being talked about in another silo, it could crush and ruin their whole world, and they can disown you. They could, um, cut you off. So I'm very, very careful about what I share in my Facebook network these days, because not everybody can handle it. So I wrote down a few more things regarding Twitter from yesterday that it either occurred to me today when I was working out, or that I just forgot to mention last night. So the question last night was, what's the power of a retweet? Well, last night, and if you're just coming in, please hit that like button. I don't suspect I'll have a large crowd for this, but any engagement helps, and it's free. It's free. I never understood why so many people watch videos, even for the bigger content creators. Why so many people watch videos and don't hit the like button. It's really, really easy. But and I think sometimes maybe YouTube suppresses those likes. That's just my opinion. So what's the power of a retweet? Last night, someone, I think her name was Deborah, she commented that a retweet is an agreement. I agree with what's being said. And I said, not necessarily. Sometimes you're, sometimes you think something someone said is foolish, and you retweet it to show everybody else what the person said. Sometimes you think, yeah, sometimes you're retweeting out of, because you think what a person said was asinine, and you think it's funny. And sometimes you retweet it to show everyone else, look at what this person said, look at what this person did. I'm very careful about doing that these days. But I'm saying that to say that sharing a link, sharing a tweet, sharing a link doesn't necessarily mean you agree with the link. Sometimes there are parts of what the person says or said that you agree with. You may not agree with all of it, but sometimes there's a piece there that you think is worth sharing. Or maybe you think you may not agree with it, but maybe you think there's something there, there's an alternative point of view that you think is worth considering. So uh, I'm saying that to say that a retweet isn't always an agreement. And the assumption is because you retweeted something, you agree with what the person said. Some people lack three-dimensional critical thinking, and things are either black or white with very little gray. So this is not necessarily a retweet, but being in someone's mentions. I'll just add this one in here. This one is extra. Sometimes you have to be careful about whose mentions you're in. You can Someone could tweet something, you can respond. There might be hundreds of thousands of responses, but if the person follows you and they see you respond, it may look like you're the only person who responded. So they may say, okay, well, you were saying this to so and so. You were saying this directly to so and so. You were making a play at so and so, not noticing that there were hundreds of thousands of other tweets there. But when someone is following you, they only see your response to the person. That's another dangerous part of Twitter. A lot of assumptions are made through that. Please hit that like button. So that's being in someone's mentions. So the power of a retweet, it can create, if you're not careful, you can create a permanent record. So what do I mean by that? So a lot of times on Twitter, you see people tweet something, you see people retweet something, you see people share something, and then it's gone because they took it down. Either they realize, you know what, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have done that, or someone pokes them and says, yo, you shouldn't have, take that down. The problem is screenshots, screenshots. So when someone says something, when you tweet something, just because you've taken it down doesn't mean that someone doesn't still have a record of it, because people are screenshotting tweets all the time. And some people are screenshotting tweets and keeping them as files to spring on you when you least expect it. So that's one of the dangers of a retweet. Number one, people assume you agree. And number two, it can create a permanent record. And then the other thing I thought about, this isn't going to be a long stream. The other thing I thought about today, and I guess, yeah, this does relate to retweeting. The other thing I thought about is that your Twitter history, it goes back, what, 4 to 5 years. So things you, let's see, so it's 2022 now. So 5 years ago was 2017. Okay. So who remembers exactly what they were thinking or what they were feeling or where their mind was at 5 years ago? You remember some general things, but maybe you shared something back then that you wouldn't share today. Maybe you retweeted something back then that you wouldn't retweet today. Okay. Maybe you responded to someone back then in a way that you wouldn't do today. Well, the problem is that there are people who are going back and scrubbing, and it's when you realize how far back your Twitter history goes, and you realize what's still out there, it's pretty sobering. But when someone goes back and searches your history and pulls something out from 3 to 5 years ago, it can literally blow you over and say, and when they say, hi, you were doing this, you said this, you said this, you said this, in a lot of people's minds, there's no nuance, and there's no, well, you said this back then, do you still feel this way? You said this back then, do you still have that position? The app can lead to the generation of permanent records, but also when people see those still there years ago, or maybe earlier, maybe a year ago, a lot of change can happen in a year. There's still that holding you responsible for what you may have done in the past. So that's significant, because when you're sharing something, when you're tweeting something in the moment, you're in that moment. And then depending upon how active you are on the app, you may have forgotten what's there. You may have forgotten that you shared that. You may have forgotten that you retweeted that. You may have forgotten that you said something to somebody in their mentions. But you don't know who's looking. You don't know who's watching you. You don't know who's looking you up. And you don't know who's screenshotting your stuff. So it all goes back to one of those 48 laws of power, I believe: protecting your image and your likeness. You're not going to be perfect all the time. No one's perfect. No one is squeaky clean. Oh, the real Dana is on talking about. Okay, I won't say what that is. But no one's perfect. No one is squeaky clean all the time. But for an app like Twitter, it's important to be very, very careful when using it, because those things that I just described, I've experienced those things. I actually had 2 Twitter accounts. One of them I shut down because when I realized the one that I have now, the one that I show here at Big Words Are Powerful. By the way, if you're on Twitter and you're not following me, please follow me. I mostly try to tweet and share benign stuff and sports related stuff, Michigan related stuff, and I'm on there joking with some of my friends. In general, today I try to be careful, and I try to stay away from inflammatory things. I might look in and peek in and see what people are talking about, but um, I don't. I see things and I don't necessarily retweet them because I know that there are some people who will hold me responsible for retweeting certain things. But in any case, if you're on Twitter, my Twitter handle is thank you to whoever is watching. If you haven't, please hit that like button. And whoever's watching, if you want to shout yourself out in the chat, feel free to do so. But it seems as though I'm doing enough to hold your attention. So I appreciate that. So those are things that I wanted to say. I doubt that Jack Dorsey and his team. Well, of course, Elon Musk is in control of Twitter now, and I heard he's cleaning house. But when this thing was initially conceived and created, oh, chaos, that's you. That's an interesting comment. Chaos Rain says most people should get off Twitter if they work a corporate job, Dr. Dunbar. Well, Chaos, there are people who are just sitting there watching. Okay, there are people who are in the game, actively participating, retweeting things, mentioning things, attacking President Biden when he says something, attacking Roland Martin when he says something. There are people who are in the game, and I think there's a population on there just watching and reporting on what people are doing. So yeah, so if you have a position of any kind, you just got to be careful about what you're throwing up there. If you're looking for a job, if you are currently employed, you never know. That's why I said I have Facebook. I have coworkers who are Facebook friends, and sometimes I kind of say to myself, should they even be in here? Should I have allowed these people in this group? Because you don't know when someone's gonna blurt something out at a team meeting, or someone's gonna whisper in the office. I saw him doing this. I saw them doing that. They posted this. They posted that. They do a lot of this. They do a lot of that. So social media, yeah, for all of the fun it can be, for all the good it does, and it does do some good, especially if you're in business, and if you're a writer like I am, or a YouTuber, if you're selling a product, if you're creating a service, if you have a service or a skill, it can be good to sell what you do and who you are. But it can also be a bit of a nuclear missile. I'm sorry. It can also be a bit of a nuclear missile as well. So that's what I wanted to say. I'm going to wrap this up again. What's the power of a retweet? Because you retweet something doesn't necessarily mean you agree. I know some people will argue me down about that. There are other reasons why you retweet things. One of them is because the person said something asinine. And that could be anybody. That could be anybody. And maybe you're retweeting that to show everyone something. There may be parts of whatever it is you share that you agree with, or maybe you think it's just it might be valuable for everyone to think about. You may not agree with it. So in my opinion, a retweet doesn't necessarily mean an agreement. Your tweets can be permanent records. Even if you take the tweet down, someone can screenshot it and keep it as a record, and then spring it on you when you least expect it. 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. The same is true with whatever you have in the Google search engine. It's permanent record and screenshots. And also, Your Twitter history goes back years. So you may have forgotten what you have up there, but a curious person, the time on their hands, may go looking at your Twitter history. And what will they find there? If you're a busy person, do you know what's in your Twitter history? Probably not. Probably not. All right, everyone, and again, in terms of your conversations, when you're in someone's mentions, they're the and someone else is following you. So you have person A, your person B. You said something to person A. If person C is following you, depending upon what you're saying to person A, the person following you may only see you talking to person A, even though there's 1,000 replies there. So the optics are kind of janky sometimes. If you're just coming in, please hit that like button. I'm just doing a short follow-up stream to what I talked about yesterday, which is the question: what's the power of a retweet? So please hit that like button if you just came. I see some folks just joined. Nothing too exciting here. No celebrity gossip. No Black Panther. No Wakanda Forever. I'm a little tired of talking about that at this point. Um, so yeah, just some career advice and just some life advice. Just a thought of the day. All right, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and shut this. I just don't like cold watching personal. Chaos, I'm trying to shut down, but what does that mean? Cold watching personal. Does that mean spying on people? Does that mean, and that's the other thing. Once it's out there, it's out there. So you may say, well, you're spying on me. Why are you tracking me? Once it's out there, it's out there, whatever it is. Cold watching personal. Well, Chaos, what does that mean? All right. While he types that, if he does, for in terms of career, once again, remember that prospective employers are scrubbing social media. Current employers may be scrubbing social media, and whether you want to be an ambassador for that company or for that agency or whatever it is, you are an ambassador of them. So if you do something, if you say something careless, if you say something reckless, that's going to reflect back on the organization. So you got to be very, very careful. And I think that's something that the TikTok therapist didn't count on. I'm certain Kyrie Irving didn't count on him just retweeting a link causing this much of a firestorm. Whether it's justified or not, people are arguing over certain things, which I won't discuss here, but just hitting that button, just hitting that retweet button, yeah, if you're not careful, it can cause a lot of harm. He says, just watching in general, if I have to tweet, I keep it short and simple. Okay. Yeah. Short and simple is good. Funny is good. Silly is good. Sports are good. If I have to tweet, if I have to tweet, but if you're working a job, it's better to find another social media or don't use it at all. Hmm. Okay. All right, everyone. I'm going to wrap this up. I got a few more things to do and I have to jump in that bed at a good hour tonight. So this was just a follow-up thought from yesterday. No guest, unfortunately, though I do plan to have more. Thank you to everyone who recently subbed. Thank you to Aaron Clary for coming on. And thank you for those of you, thank you to those of you who subbed who came over from his network and subbed. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up. If by chance you watch this on the playback, Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to donate something to the channel, that information is below in the description box. You can also leave a super thanks. And please consider joining the Big Words LLC newsletter. And with that, I'm going to wrap this up. Everyone stay safe out there. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. See, folks are jumping in and out. If you just came in, please hit that like button. The likes are free. These were just some follow-up thoughts from yesterday. Be careful with the social media. Be careful on Twitter. Be careful on TikTok. Be careful on YouTube. Be careful on all of it. You don't know who's watching. You don't know what they're thinking. And if you don't own yourself, shout out to LJ from Savings Minus Debt. You don't own yourself, then yeah, there can be extreme consequences. And even if you do own yourself, you can get canceled by someone or your social credit score. Do we have that yet? Social credit scores? That can get diminished. In any case, everyone, I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.